PR Connections Radio presents
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Cozy Up and Pay Attention Season 2. If you're looking at my face, it's Tuesday, it's 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and I am going to bring you another fabulous parent who has produced two responsible adults for all of us to enjoy. If you would kindly take a deep breath and let it out, we'll be right back.
Cozy Stone is a multi-talented comedian extraordinaire who has a real lust for life. She also combines humor and motivation, where she is known as a humorvational speaker. Her youthful ways and positive light make her a beacon for those of all ages. Cozy has lived a remarkable life that has paved the way for so many. She had the longest running open mic venue of 11 years at Tommy Rockers in Vegas, called Cozy's Comedy Corner, through which she introduced many up-and-coming comedians. Before going into comedy, she was one of the first female personal trainers and one of the top fitness trainers in the world. She has trained many greats such as Billie Jean King, Roberta Flack, Andrew Young, Ed Bradley, CCH Pounder, Al Pacino, and Earl Monroe. As a former competitive bodybuilder, she also owned a bodybuilding gym for women over 40 in Los Angeles for several years. She has worked in top positions for HBO, Playboy, and Tony Robbins. She also enjoys volunteer work, dedicating time to the New York Foundling Hospital and babies with AIDS. Cozy Stone has a message that shouldn't be missed.
If you would kindly bring me my wonderful guest for the day, Miss April Nobille. Good afternoon, April.
Good afternoon, Cozy.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
I love your energy and that infectious smile. We need that in this world, and we need it on this show today. April, before we get started, I always say to my audience, being a parent, we know there's no such thing as a perfect parent. Yes, there are lots of books on the shelf about parenting, but they may not pertain to the child with your DNA. So you have to figure out the best practices, each parent for their child. And just as importantly, the show is never and will never be about parent shaming. So as we get into your interview, I'd like to start off with letting the audience know a bit about your background. Where did your parents, how did they meet? What age were they? And how old were they when you were born? There you go. Take it away.
So my parents got together around 1970 or so, and I came along in 1971. I was born and raised in Duarte, California, and they were not sweethearts. But I'm grateful to the Lord that I was born and that they loved me enough to keep me.
Okay. So did they get married?
No, they did not.
Did they co-parent?
His father co-parented, and then my mom had the support of her entire family on the mother's side, on my grandmother's side.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
So, and again, these questions come about, April, because a lot of times, actually more often than not, history repeats itself, right? A 16-year-old parent has a 16-year-old parent, has a 60-year-old parent, and so what? Because this show is not about the unplanned, all it was, an unplanned pregnancy is what did you do once the child was born? So you took out some of my questions because you two, and you were how old?
I am 51 years old.
Okay, how old were you when you had your first child?
I was 28.
Really?
Yes.
Well, haven't you heard about condoms? What the hell? Oh, back the boat up.
So we did plenty of things to have a baby before that, but my husband and I decided to have children when I was 28 and he was 37.
Wait, I think we're in two different conversations. Let's back.
Okay.
Let's go back. Back
Okay.
and go up. All right. Okay. So your parents were teenagers.
They were teenagers.
Right. And how old were you when you had your first child?
28.
Oh, let me say it one more time. Did you ever hear about condoms? All right. 28 is not a child. Okay, but that's okay. That's not okay. The big deal is you're a grown up.
Yes.
You're an adult. And whether he stayed around or not, you didn't need him at that point. You know how to think. You're educated. You're mature. And again, so what? Okay.
Yes.
Now you've changed my show around, Miss April.
Okay.
Okay. So 28, he decided I don't want to be involved. And he was your husband.
So my husband and I, we were married for 3 years before we decided to have our first baby.
Oh, so under my questions, April,
yes.
This really was not, quote unquote, an unplanned pregnancy.
Not
this was a baby that was made during wedlock.
Yes.
And eventually it happened.
Yes.
There's a difference.
Yes.
Okay. Now, whether he decided he did not want to partake in parenting is neither here nor there. You guys, you were married. You were trying to have a child. Okay, you just messed up my whole show, Miss April.
So my husband and I, we've been married since then. It will be 25 years in July.
The same man?
Same man. Same man.
You're not taking aspirin today. Maybe it's me. I don't take aspirin. Maybe the medications got my brain all soured. I thought you said he didn't want to be a part of raising your child.
Oh, I thought that was when I came into the world. When I was born. I'm talking.
Oh, you're talking about your father.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Not my husband and our children's father. He's been on board since before they were born.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. And even better still.
Yes.
You got a good one.
Yes, I do. Okay.
And just to go back for a moment, your mom didn't get a good one, but that's not important because I'm looking at you today. Now, you are just driving me nuts. Okay. So, Jesus Christ Almighty. So when you met your husband, you said you were dating 3 years before you got married?
No, we were married 3 years before
you had your kids.
Yes. We were dating, we got married, and then we had our baby in 2000. So really more like 2 years.
Okay. All right. So it was a courtship. But again, what's important, very important, is that you were 28. Yes. I try to appeal a lot of times to young women and or young men to understand the responsibility that goes along with unprotected sex. Mm-hmm. They're irresponsible, if you will. But when I'm talking to a 28-year-old woman, that does not apply. It does not apply here. But I do want to go back and ask you, this is my girly question. When you met your husband and you initially saw him, was it his brains, his brawn, or his beauty that said, I may want to marry him and have children with this man? What was your initial attraction?
Oh, it was definitely his brawn, and it was definitely because he's extremely attractive. Mm-hmm. And so that was what initially attracted me to him. He was always at the gym, and I said, yes.
Okay. So when you decided to, I even like to ask, this is another girly question. It still pertains to you. You find out you were pregnant. Was it fear or fantasy? In other words, I like to know how women feel, whether they're 16 or 46. What is that initial feeling when you're told you're going to give birth?
I was very excited. I was excited that we had prepared for having our baby. You know, my husband, we loved each other. He wanted our child. It was so exciting. We had so much fun. it was, I just thank the Lord all the time, because it wasn't like a perfect, I never got sick pregnancy or things like that. But, he was always there. My husband was always there from before getting pregnant. Then during pregnant, he showered me, and he protected me from every little thing. Didn't want me to walk to the mailbox. Didn't want me to hold a jar of milk. He was just amazing. Yes. It was.
You got a good one.
Yes.
So I don't usually ask this question, but in light of the way this is going, I want to. Tell us, what was it? You found out all of these things, a lot of these characteristics as you continue to date him and marry him. But leading up to marrying him, what was it about this man that says he's a good one? That you either knew in your heart, or like you said, you knew God sent you a good one. Tell me some of the qualities that he possessed, so women can maybe look for some of these things.
Well, for me, what was important is that he was interested in me, in knowing me, in caring about me, in being there for me. And he always wanted to be around me. I always wanted to be around him. I mean, even if it was, I want to go here or whatever. And he's like, as long as we together, none of this separation stuff, you know what I'm saying? And so, and he talked about things that he wanted to do in the future, including me and and I was like, I'm completely on board with that. And a responsible person, a caring person. He took care of his family, his siblings, and his mother had passed away, but he took care of his stepmother, his siblings. He was always doing kind things for them. So those qualities, I love those qualities.
Yes, and they carry over. That is important. And God, thank you. I'm glad this is going every your way, except my usual way. It's important, and I have conversation. I have a buddy right now, and I'm sort of counseling her. She's online, and Jesus Christ, who could do that dumb shit? But excuse me, and just trying to make her aware of these things to look out for. But it's also important to know what you want in a relationship, and just as importantly, what you're willing to give. So she's got this list that surely needs to be rewritten, or some things put in, some things taken out, because we know there's not going to be perfect.
Yes.
Well, what are the important characteristics and quality of someone is going to not just care for you as a date, but care for you as the parent of your child? So with all of what you said, this is going to be an interesting question. So you two get together, you're two grown adults. Even with that in mind, what were some of the sameness or differences that you brought from your house and he brought from his upbringing? There were things that both of you did get from your parents, or maybe things that he wanted different, and it still worked. Tell me some of those characteristics.
Well, I think just both of the backgrounds that we had, they kind of were similar. We both had, it was limited means that we had, and, just different households, but it was limited means. That's what we had in common. His family was way larger than mine. Mine was a small family, but we have a family that they want to spend time together, do things, not just on holidays, but just check on one another, have at least once every few weeks, couple weeks, talk to your loved ones and your family members, see how they're doing, make an effort just to be there. And sometimes you can't always physically be there, but just them knowing, do I have your back? Yes. Am I there if you need me? Yes. So that's kind of how we kind of line up really, together in how we feel about and how we approach family.
Okay. So from your point of view, from your mom or your household or your mom, what were some of the words of wisdom, April, that your mom shared with you that you shared with your children? And chances are they will share these same words with their children.
I really hope so. My mother always told me, be able to take care of yourself. Don't have to have anybody to do anything for you. Do it for yourself. Have your own home, have your own vehicle, have your own job. Take care of yourself. And she also told me, most of all, she said, trust God. You might have a problem here and there, up and down, but having that foundation of trust in the Lord and know that he's always there. And that just has carried me. It's carried me with both of us as far as how we talk to our children and knowing, take care of yourself.
Right.
But
as daughters,
yes,
mothers, as a rule,
yes,
run a house, whether we like it or not, right?
Yes.
I mean, in terms of, they're just more hands-on. That's fair.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I'm sure most who are listening or out there, they hear their dad. Usually they say the dad gives the face, right? And the mother just yaks. But as I like to say, that yakking is what stays in our head, and we grow up to understand it wasn't punishment, it was prevention. So that's why I asked that question. So I'm going to recap. You had your kids in as adults, grown adults. It was a planned pregnancy. Yes, it was. You had so much in common in terms of, more importantly, you cared about, not just for one another, you cared about one another. Your direction was the same in what you wanted to give to one another as well as your offspring. Huge in bringing another human being into this world. So let's move on to your questions. Your first second may be the same, but that's me and that's aspirin. So the first question is, tell me 3 things you considered before becoming a parent.
I wanted to already have my career established. I wanted to have a household, a home, and I just wanted to have all the resources that I needed as well before having children. Those three main things: my career, have a home, and just have resources to be able to take care of our children, for us both to take care of our children.
Okay. And then I do look at this second question. It is a different question. Tell me 3 things you wish you knew before becoming a parent.
I wish that I knew that just because you invest in your child, do everything for your child, it does not mean that your child wants to be around you necessarily for any particular length of time. And it doesn't mean that they don't love you. They just, maybe they're figuring it out or something like that. I wish that I wouldn't take that to heart so much.
Okay. You took their wanting to be individuals personally, huh?
Yes, you can say I thought they might want to hang out with us a little bit more, but well, think again.
Especially if they're teenagers. Parents should read a book on what teenagers are like before they give birth, because from, let's say, birth to maybe 11, 12, you've got a child. From 12 to 19, you've got a monster the stranger in your home, full of hormones. Their brains are going in different ways. And so I love this repartee about parents and these teenagers. Moving on. And I'm glad I did. They're not the same questions as I thought earlier. Your next question is, how much of your parents' disciplines did you use?
I believe that we used all the discipline that we could without going overboard. I believe the fact that they have their mother and their father, to me, is a great blessing, because I feel like that they have both covering.
Okay, stop.
Yes.
Question one more time.
Yes.
How much of, and I'll make it specific. How much of your mother's disciplines did you use with your children? That's almost similar to the yakking.
I don't think that I was as good a communicator of discipline as my mom.
Okay.
I think she was much better.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the next question. Did you know your children's friends?
Yes. I knew both. I know my daughter and my son's friends. Yes.
And
Yes.
tell us why that's important and was important, rather.
Well, I mean, being around some of the friends when they would come over, because they always at least had to come over or spend a little time talking to them. What is that child like? What kind of personality do they have? Are they respectful in any way? Those types of things. How you doing in school, and what do you do in your spare time? Just kind of. So I like that part. That part, I think we did a great job of getting to know our kids' friends.
Did you also know most, if not all, of their parents?
Yes, at least the mom. Well, the
Right.
husband knew the dads. I knew the moms.
Okay. Yeah. That is huge in who is your children's influence, good or bad,
Yes.
right?
Good. Yes, that is correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Good or bad.
I
Who is,
think that it's good.
yeah. Remember, I guess you'll remember, I don't know if you do, Leave It to Beaver, and there was Eddie Haskell. Well, Eddie Haskell wasn't bad, but he had this smile and this devious way about him. Because actually, Wally could kick his butt, so we could never lead Wally anyway.
Okay.
But when we were growing up, he would be the first person that would come to my mind in terms of Wally, and the mother would always Cleve, and what mother would always say, we got to watch out for that damn Wally. Well, there is a Wally. When I do in the front of the children's schools doing motivational speaking or my motivational speaking, I love to say to little girls, I said, let me say something to you. Every one of you in here right now has a friend that your mother can't stand. And when I was growing up, our parents used to call them fast. I don't know what they call them. I know what they probably call them today, but I'm not going to say that. Our parents didn't call our friends that word back then, but now I think they do. So they were fast, that little fast girl, that fast girl, and that's because they knew. And, 9 out of 10 times they were absolutely correct. And that child didn't have the discipline, did not have the parenting that we were fortunate enough to have. But, again, what do you know as a child, right? That child, and that's the reason, because that's the child that if your kid is not that strong, that child is very interesting to your kid, because
Yes.
I want to do this, and her parents don't, man, she stays out late and she watches TV and she doesn't have to clean and she doesn't have to do dishes. That's not your house.
Right.
Right.
That's right.
So again, that is heavily important in knowing who your children's friends are, what their backgrounds are like, how much effort their parents are putting into their child. And once you see that you're not all on the same plane, we've got to do something to impress upon our child, because it's hard to tell. I think it's true when you try to tell your kid what not to do. As a child, especially a teenager, that's what I want to do.
Yes.
And so at some point, the communication has to come from, let me explain to you what that little heifer is going to be doing at 14 years old, right?
Yes. Yes.
You will be changing diapers and you will be getting A's in school. And
it's a possibility.
Well, and that's those hard conversations that I believe, from talking to as many people as I do, a lot of parents don't want to have. That's your job. The hard conversations, the hard questions.
Yes.
When you don't ask them, you will have, and they will maybe have a hard life.
Yes.
Right? So I say and encourage parents listening, and ask those hard questions. You're not trying to be their friend. You're trying to be their parent. And at the end of the day, you're going to be on here or somewhere in life being very proud of the fact that you honing in on your own child's, I don't want to say weaknesses, but the fact that they are more influenced. How's that? They're not weak, but they can be more influenced because they've got a friend with a hell of a personality that says, let's go do that. And they'll say, oh, okay, no. And one of the other things that I believe, April, and maybe it's because this is my background, is that putting the fear of God in your child is it's a loving thing. It's not bad. They don't put you in jail for it. But I believe if someone else can influence your child, you have not done the best job. You should be the most influential part, you and your husband, in your child's life for no other reason because you love them and
Yes.
you only want the best for them.
Yes.
Right?
I agree with that.
Let's get to your last question, which is what was the easiest age after 2? Can you remember?
The easiest age after 2, it has to, for me, it's going to be as a 17-year-old senior.
No, babe. No. Not you.
For them?
For your children. As a parent.
As a parent.
What was the easiest age after 2?
The easiest age after 2 for my daughter was 10, and for my son was 8. Yes, those were the 2 easiest ages.
Because?
For my daughter was 10 years old because she always wanted to do things with me. We would go to school events. We go to the brownies. We would go to all our sporting events. She always wanted to be together and do fun things together. Yes, she had her friends, but she would talk to me a whole lot more. My son, the same way, 8 years old, mom this, mom that, and let's do this. And, just always want to kind of be together. It was fun. It was easy. I cherish the memory, but it's no longer here.
Yeah, that's why I'm laughing because you already mentioned, and then they left me because they didn't want to be my friend anymore. That's why.
It's tough. Yeah.
God didn't give them to you to keep. He gave them to you to have.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's a difference. Let's get to your fun question because we are doing right with time, and I want to be respectful of your time.
Okay.
Your fun question is, if you could shop free at one store for the rest of your life, even though it doesn't say that, what store would you choose?
Thanks for adding that.
It makes it more difficult. What store would you choose?
I would choose Dillard's. Because I'm a professional. I love all their different brands. I love their clothes. I love their purses. I mean, I would be set. I wouldn't have to be concerned about getting any events, whatever. I'd go to Dillard's for the rest of my life.
And I like that because, of course, we are acquainted by our networking and being out and about, if you will. And I must compliment you on your professional demeanor every time I see you. And the fact that I have a guest on here, like myself, who understands looking professional makes you feel good about yourself. Contrary to what those out there may not believe, you're taking in a more serious light as a business person because we're all out there trying to grow our business, right? And grows your character. So when you and I are out there and we see the jeans and the unironed shirts and the sneakers that could be the shoes that are run over, the hairs that aren't, it's your choice.
Yes, it's a choice.
But it is still, and that's the age in me. That's the age I came from. I always like to tease and say that is the one thing that my father gave me, sense of style.
Yes.
He didn't give much else. Give me the nose. Everything else is my mom, right? But he dressed.
He gave you plenty.
Yeah. He provided the DNA, right? So I am grateful, and I say that jokingly, but not by much. This has been a wonderful time together. Like I said, your energy, because I haven't seen you in a while. So and we've never had a one-on-one. So one day we will. But this, I guess, is sort of our one-on-one, and it didn't cost us any money or no calories. How's that?
How is that?
I've had a wonderful guest on here today, ladies and gentlemen, who, as a grown-up, decided to get married, planned her children afterwards, put her all into it, her and her husband. She found a winner in terms of who loved her, who she loved back. They gave to one another, and they took that love for one another and provided it and gave it to their children, who are now, are they out of your house?
My daughter's 23 and she's a college graduate out of the house.
Okay.
And our 16-year-old son that you saw earlier is 10th grade, finishing 10th grade.
Oh, okay. Let's not put him out. No, let's keep him.
Yes.
Let's not put him out. Let's make sure we know where he is every night at 10 o'clock, right? Well,
Yes,
good.
ma'am.
Good. And I thank you. I like to say society thanks you for giving back of what you were given. That is your thank you indirectly to your parents to say somebody gave it to me. I owe it to somebody to give back, and so we thank you for that. Before I end the show, I'm always remiss in mentioning my cozyisms, the art of paying attention, my self-published books on Amazon. Please support me and go on. And there's some more words of wisdom on here. There's some in here. There is some witticism, some quick wit, because this thing never goes to sleep. With and without aspirins, by the way. And it is my way, without giving birth and having stretch marks. This is what I do. I write books, I do comedy, I have a podcast, and I care about you and you and you and you and you. So, April, I believe, first of all, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. This has been more than a pleasure. And folks out there, again, one of my beliefs, and I'm entitled to my own, is that when you know better, you do better. And thank you for watching us another week on Cozy Up and Pay Attention, the Parent Edition.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.